Good evening and welcome to episode 9 of the OCD Backpackers series. I'm your host, Matthew Flansburgh. Today we are going to be reviewing the Spyderco Para 3 Lightweight Plain Edge Folding Knife. I'm super excited about this particular review as this is, out of all of my equipment, the highest rated, most decorated, coolest, probably in my objective opinion, best backpacking object, hiking object, personal effects object I have. I love this knife. I am dedicating this episode to the man who gave it to me, Dave SHOEMAN. He knew I was a Spyderco fan. My Para 2 was lost. Huge knife. And Dave surprised me with this. So this is like actually the coolest knife I've ever owned. Probably mostly because of that gift. So thank you so much, Dave. I use it every day. And this video will be testimony to my thankfulness on that. So hope you're doing well. I'll see you soon, hopefully. So let's get back to the review. This is essential gear. I think every backpacker needs a knife. Except for the axe people. They can be axe people and they can have their axes. But for most people, I think that this is the ultimate tool. Let's open it up. Everybody should have a knife. This is one of the first things I give my kids when we started camping was their own knife. And I remember growing up as a child, my experiences with my first knife, I still have the first sapling of an aspen tree that I made into a marshmallow stick. I still have that original. That was done through my knife. I use this every day. This is my EDC everyday carry. This is a Spyderco Para 3 Lightweight with, as you can see, a plain edge. It's an ultra compact, carry friendly full mat. It's a folder. Folds right here. The scales were made of injection molded fiberglass reinforced nylon, or FRN, purported to be 30% lighter than the G10 equivalent of this knife. It's got a compression lock mechanism, which pops up, down, and then gets released by pressure. The blade is remarkable. Full flat ground blade, crafted from CTS-BDN1, nitrogen-enriched high-carbon chromium steel that's really hard. It has decent, I like the edge retention compared to most steels, and it is very corrosion resistant. I haven't seen any sign of corrosion on this, but then again, I'm using it every day. Beautiful knife. Downside is it's a Spyderco. It's expensive. This is the upper end of the manufactured knives. Of course, Benchmade being probably the other if there are only two, but there are a lot of great knives out there. I think from my perspective, kind of give it an overview, kind of top down. It's expensive. This is an expensive knife. Depending on where you get it, I go up to the factory. Sometimes you get deals, sometimes you don't. I'm a frequent flyer, so that kind of helps. As mentioned, CTS-BDN1, BD1N steel, which is really good. We'll sharpen it here in a minute. The weight is really, really light. Weight on this knife is 2.45 ounces, 69 grams. Blade length, overall length I should say, 7.21 long, closed 4.29 inches. The blade length is just shy of 3 inches, 2.92. Thickness of the blade, 1.45 or 0.145, and the blade length itself is 2.58. As mentioned, handles made of FRN, fiberglass reinforced nylon. It's got a compression lock And a little bonus, this ambidextrous wire clip for your deep pockets that can be flipped for left-handers if you want to hold this in your left hand. Of course, you got the trademark Spyderco single thumb hole for single hand opening, which works, of course, ambidextrously. And I consider this, having owned many knives, and will always own a knife and will always carry a knife. This is a 10. It's got everything I've ever wanted. It was a gift on top of it. It's a star product. It's super sharp, maintains its blade. Ultra light, right? It's super light in comparison to a lot of knives, and it's comfortable. The form of this is great. Fits the hand, so you're not like losing your pinky. It's not too small. It's not too big, so you can't have it in your pocket, and it's not cumbersome for that. So it just seems to be the Goldilocks of all knives, at least for me. And I highly recommend something similar to it. Love it. Thank you so much, Dave. Now let's get into sharpening it. Every month or so, because I use my knife so often, typically just opening boxes, cutting boxes up, stuff like that. However, I find myself needing to sharpen it once a month or so, and that's really just kind of getting it back to where it wants to be. So I'm using the native Spyderco kit. Comes with two basically grits, ceramic grits, and it comes with two different settings, so to speak. And I'm going to get a piece of paper out and show you what I'm talking about visually. Typical blade, you might think of just being a V. And you think that a dull blade is just kind of this blade wearing out at the end, and then you coming in and resharpening this V down. However, this system, a little bit different. What we're going to be doing is we're going to be first cutting this outside bevel and shaving that off, and then coming in with a secondary bevel, effectively creating two planes where the fine edge at the tip is a secondary bevel. So it's very, very small, almost unnoticeable, but keeping this tip actually allows for chopping and cutting to peel away from the blade a little bit better. So that's why we're going to do a double bevel. So we have two different stones, and we're going to create a double bevel. And how we do that is that this particular device has settings. It says here, it says back bevel. You may not be able to see that. So the back bevel is that first one we were talking about. And so we set up the guides on it as such. This guide protects your hands for when the knife is coming down, so you don't get cut. The way the system works is pretty simple. You got two orientations, flat and then more aggressive. This puts all the pressure on one point. So if you have a really dull blade, and you want to resharpen that dull blade, you want to kind of put the triangular in. However, if your blade's already sharp, or not too bad like these are all in really good shape, the blade I currently have, then you can use this V. So we go through two different stones. The outside, a little bit more coarse, and after we do that, we come in with the inside, more of a polishing. Now they make coarser stones, ones that are heavier than this that will cut more metal off, and they make lesser stones, lesser ceramics that'll even polish finer than this, and then you can use a strop or something. For this demonstration, let's keep it simple. So step 2 is the white stones. So if we could quickly demonstrate on my already sharp blade, this knife, just keep it straight up and down. and just basically repeat that motion. Now, if you have a really dull blade, you kind of want to repeat this motion a number of times, and then you'll feel on the other side a burr, and that's good. You want to kind of feel a burr down, and then you'll negate it out with this, and then you'll get to the point where you're evenly using both these blades. So after you go through that cycle about 10 times, oops, then you replace them and you use this and you do the same. Similarly, after you repeat that process a number of times, 10 times straight up and down, now we want to get our edge, and this is a 40 degree, the other one was a 30. So now we're going to get into that cut, that tip cut sort of, so to speak. So again, put the stones in this way, and I'm not doing this very aggressively because the camera angle and my blade. I'm just trying to get the motion down for you. And this blade is straight up and down. You may not see that in the camera, and that's the key, is to kind of keep it balanced. So you go back and forth 10 times. And again, if you want to get technical, sometimes you just kind of go to the tri-tip first and get any of the little things out. Do that 10 times, and finally repeat here. Now, like I said, this blade is already super sharp, and so I'm repeating on an already sharp blade, but I think you get the point. I like this system. It's simple. It's fairly cheap. I'll leave the link in there. It's nice to have, and of course, it's consistent. The only key to that pattern is keeping this blade straight up and down and trying to keep it at the same angle. But after you get that technique down, this thing is super sharp. Let me demonstrate. Okay, I finally got my soldering iron kit out with a magnifying glass, and now we're viewing that. And here I wanted to show you, you can see the double bevel. The shiny part is the secondary bevel, and this other part here is the primary. So here we have 30 degrees, and then this little shiny piece here is the actual cutting edge, and that's cut at 40 degrees. And so that's what gives us this double bevel effect. Now that our knife has been sharpened, let's give it a quick paper test. Let's see if we can do a little curling. Oh yeah, we call that feathering. What cutting? Oh gosh, yeah, we're at razor sharp. Just how I like it. So, whether or not you decide on picking up this particular knife, you need a knife for backpacking and camping. At the very least, for cutting sticks into marshmallow sticks. Oh, it's the best. Whittling, but it's good for everything. Cutting bandages, I mean, cutting food, cutting fishing line, the list goes on. If you go back in human history, this was probably the most commonly carried object in some way, shape, or form, is some sort of bladed instrument for doing everything. Cutting apples. I mean, the list is endless. But certainly look into getting yourself a good knife that'll last you a lifetime. It's fun having one, and it really is great to have a blade that is reliable, sharp, and reusable, like this particular one is, and light on top of it, and ergonomic on top of it. Star product. Well, thank you, Dave. I appreciate it. This is one of my prized possessions. It's because of you. So have a wonderful day. Hope to see you all soon. It's rough out there. Love one another.